Cool. So we are online. Welcome back to the Fuel Arts online webinar series, where we're putting the two worlds together, the world of art and tech and venture capital, trying to make the market more transparent for investors and more reliable, less scary for the young art and tech startups. So we, as Fuel Arts, launched a pre-acceleration program for young entrepreneurs on Monday, and frankly speaking, the first lecture was it gave us a matter to think about. So the first lecture was about the NFT market ecosystem, and when we showed the students our vision of the ecosystem, they were a little bit confused or even upset. So we showed the 383 startups on the screen that back up, that ensure all the operations on the NFT market, and the four links of the value chain, like production, trading, management, and analytics. So when we saw the audience's confusion, we asked the audience what did they expect to see, and we received a counter question. So isn't the NFT ecosystem, does the ecosystem consist of CryptoPunks and Bored Apes? So they expected to see the tokens there as part of the ecosystem. And that's how we realized there is a problem, because for many people, the market is really associated with just the showcase as on Fifth Avenue. So just assets for sale. And in fact, the market is provided by startups that are behind the process. So when an investor looks at the newborn market, and NFT market is a newborn market, so the amount of images, the amount of NFTs, the amount of transactions is less important to him. He wants to see the two things in the ecosystem: a startup ecosystem, which are backing all the process, and the market reports. So we are here to continue talking about the market reports. And in recent months, we saw a considerable rise in the market reports, which are addressing the NFT market. For instance, the Art Basel and UBS report devoted the first section to the NFT sales. We also saw the ARTNet Intelligence report focusing on NFT sales, not to mention the gorgeous Hiscox Online reports showing the data carefully collected, the data on the attitude of online collectors. I mean, collectors used to buy physical art online, and their attitude towards NFTs. And also, we as Fuel Arts, we launched our inaugural report focusing on the startups and investments in the startups. Mm-hmm. So we were incredibly happy to see that the second edition of Art and Tech Report, created by Kerstin Gold and her gorgeous team, also appeared several weeks ago. So today we're here with Kerstin to speak about her report, a very important contribution to the development of the market, the contribution investors have been looking for. So Kerstin is a co-founder and the author of the ART+TECH Report and strategy consultant for the whole art ecosystem. She regularly advises art market entrepreneurs on digital transformation and business model innovation, and serves as an art and tech startup advisor. Hello, Kerstin.
Hello, two of you. Very nice to be here.
Yeah, and as always, with me, the manager, project manager of Fuel Arts, and art academician, art historian Sonia Stubblebine.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Kerstin.
Hi, Sonia.
So the first question, let me be the first. So the first question towards you, Kerstin, is how did you come up with the idea of the ART+TECH report? I mean, back in 2021, the first edition.
Oh, the first edition. It's, as you said, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I think this is a really great platform for the ART+TECH report to be seen and shared and hopefully discussed. And I wasn't prepared for the first one. So the general idea about the ART+TECH report started because 4 women from the Berlin art market system realized there's something happening during the lockdowns which deserved more than just a seller side to it. So we witnessed a lot of discussions about when everything locked down and got in shutdown, we observed a lot of conversations about, can art be sold online? Should art sold be online? And it was a very seller-driven conversation. And it was more about the question, how do we want to sell art? And do we actually want to sell art online? So we said there's some perspective missing to the discourse, and that was the consumer, or let's say the collector side. And that's been at the core of the first ART+TECH report, and that's what's been at the core for the second ART+TECH report. Because when you look back to last year, it was pretty much that there were parallels. We literally saw the summer of NFTs, in particular the art world, and there was no day without any bold headline or sales figures coming along. And there was clearly a rise in hype on this topic, but equally we saw skepticism grow amongst art market players. And again, we witnessed, or we were part of conversations about that this is not really art, and actually it's just going to be a hype, and if we wait long enough it's going to disappear, and also it doesn't appeal to true collectors, and ultimately everything is about speculation and flipping. And on a personal level, the 4 of us were really interested in what was happening. And again, we felt, why don't we ask the other perspective? Why don't we include the other perspective and ask people who are actually in the game already what kind of experiences they make, and also share their motivations to do so with us? And that's been the background, said and done. And we surveyed 306 respondents last year. And I think it's important to iterate that our main mission was to look beyond the hype and to get a better understanding of what's happening from an art market perspective. And it was never our intention, and still isn't, to challenge the crypto space per se, or even to value NFTs and collectibles. But it was clearly to understand from an art market perspective what's going on, where's the relevance for our industry, and also to identify the potential and not missing out on those opportunities because thinking it's just the hype. So that's been like our core mission. And also we decided from very early on, we're going to do it independently again. That's what we did with the first report as well. So that means it's self-financed. That also means we don't owe anyone anything. And that's very handy as well. And we also decided to share everything we're going to gain in terms of knowledge and insights with everyone who's interested. So actually only last week we launched our ART+TECH Report website, where you can find the most interesting key insights for further reading. And for those who love the deep dive, there's a complete download of the full report for free as well. And so maybe it's worth to say the report, the first one and the second one either, they were never meant to patronize anyone within the industry or lecture. It's more like an invitation or like a gift for everyone who's equally excited about what's happening and really wants to understand what's happening, to maybe derive some individual conclusions for her or his individual sustainable future.
That sounds very interesting, especially that you made it open to the general public, to everyone, in a short way and in a deep way, with like people just reading the keynotes and just like reading the full report. I find it wonderful that it's like an open knowledge for everyone. And like there's so many art market reports, as like Dennis was mentioning before. What do you think, like what niche does your art tech report fill in among other like art market reports?
What kind of niche? I don't think we ever set out to fill in a gap or a niche. And as Dennis said, I truly believe there's room for many reports still to come, because we've been lacking data and empiric research for ages in this market. So I think the more the merrier in general. I think if you're asking for a difference, then my answer would be we are independent. So we didn't have to incorporate or maybe even hide any questions around art insurances or asset management preferences. So we could clearly ask what we wanted to, and we also were free in choosing the tonality, how we wanted to address the questions. And I personally think that makes a difference, because we were able to gain a quite personal eye-to-eye, peer-to-peer level when asking our questions. And I think that resulted in deeply personal and authentic collectors' insights we gained. And I think that's showing in the key findings. But in general, I think I would say we're happy to contribute to an increasing report landscape.
Thank you, Kerstin. I'm pretty sure that this is the second report after Art Basel and UBS report that uncovers the NFT market, created by a female team, fully female team. So what would you recommend other female teams in organizational and other matters to navigate the digital art market?
Forgive me for saying this, Dennis, but I think first and foremost, it was never intended to be a women's project or a female project, but we set out to ask really visionary, important questions and do the research. And it happens to be made by people who are really passionate about art and technology, and they just happen to be women. So I think it's important to us to not define it as a female project, but it's a proper research project. And I think we are addressing visionary aspects with it. But then equally, we are women. And on a personal level, I would say I do enjoy working amongst female networks, because we have been experiencing a lot of female support over the last 2 years. And I think it's fair to say we wouldn't be here where we are if it hadn't been for the female support amongst our network. So I think giving and receiving female support does mean a lot, not only to me personally, but also to where we should push it when it comes to the market and its future, because it needs diverse teams to actually create the solutions and the answers for the future, which makes our industry. And I would love to see more women, and I don't think there should be any excuse if it's digital or art and tech. It's just something which is so exciting, and it's really of relevance for our industry. So I think we're gonna be strong in promoting other women and key voices in the space to make sure there's a proper share of female voices in it.
Thank
That
you.
sounds wonderful. And also, I was curious, because it's been already 2 reports. Like, what was your experience writing the first one, and how was it different writing the second one? Like, would you say that like writing the first one would be like way more challenging? How was the second experience? Like, how was it overall?
I think I have to confess it was challenging all the time, but differently. With the first report, obviously, we really had to find our way around. It's been the first proper research project, and we are a team of 4, and we're working in different positions, and we just had to find a rhythm. And then don't forget, we were in lockdowns all the time, so it was purely a Corona project. And also with the first report, we invested quite a lot of time and also energy to try to get funding for the project. So that was really time consuming and very challenging. And we didn't manage to raise any funding, which eventually turned out to be a wise decision. With the second report, of course, some things are easier because you get into a routine. But then given the topic of NFTs, I mean, it was so fresh and young and new. there was literally no foundation to pick on or to refer to. And I think we underestimated the requirement of research. So it took way longer than initially planned. And I personally was having a lot of conversation with key voices and experts just to get really deep understanding before being ready to draft an insightful questionnaire. So that's been challenging.
So, Kerstin, we're all excited. Even us who have already studied your report, we're also excited to hear the main findings of this report from you personally. So, could you please share some slides of the report?
Yes, that would be nice. Thank you. Yes, well, we are talking about the ART+TECH report on art NFT collecting. And as I mentioned earlier, the full team, this is the full team. So there are Christina, Johanna, and Anne next to me, and maybe somewhere here tonight, I don't even know. The mission we set out for was to shed light on the question, are NFTs similar to art NFTs, and are there any differences, and what are the motivations to buy and collect them from a purely art collector's point of view or collector's point of view. And the full analysis allowed us to, maybe some top lines on the methodology first. That's important, so no one thinks that's been intuition, but actually it's been based on empiric foundation. So we surveyed 306 respondents, and it's been an online survey. We've done it through Typeform, and we used channels like Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn to reach potential respondents. Among the sample and among those people who identified the gender, we have a quite even split between men and women and those who identified as men and women. And we had 12% of people who preferred not to reveal their gender. And with more than 1/3 of Gen X and older respondents, I think it's fair to say this is not a millennial sample, and it's not a millennial only topic. And there might have been a bias with 4 German founders, so nearly half of the respondents were actually based in Germany, but the rest of it was spread over the world. So I think that makes it internationally again. Now, if we could quickly jump to the next one. Thank you. So as I said, the full analysis enabled us to define 14 key findings, which you find in the report. And then we picked 9 out of them to feature on the website. That's a screenshot from our website. And I picked 3 out of them for today's presentation. But obviously, everyone feels free and invited to ask questions or refer to any other key finding. I just thought we're going to pick the following 3 because they include the main revelations, which we think are most exciting. So let me start with this first key learning, which reads, above all, it's about the art. And to some of you, this might not come as a surprise or not have any news value, but actually it has, because we had 90% of collectors actually confirming that the reason why they collect art NFTs is art appreciation. So 90% of the people who buy art NFTs said they're doing it for the love of the work, they're doing it for the love of the art. And when being asked about what makes a good art NFT for those collectors, the top reason, number 1, was a good artistic concept. And the reason number 2 was the creative play with the blockchain technology. And what is important or interesting at this point is that the top 2 reasons seem to have to work in common. So from an art NFT collector's perspective, a good art NFT combines an artistic concept and a creative use of the technology and binds it together. So there should be a reason why the blockchain technology. And so what's interesting about the 90% here is that it actually differentiates an art NFT from an NFT, because The value of the art NFT is the art. The utility of an art NFT is the art, whereas with collectibles on other NFTs, they do work based on the concept of added values and collectors' incentives. So with art NFTs, there's an intrinsic value to regular NFTs and collectibles in general. And we as a team also think that puts art NFTs much closer to fine art than to the NFT space. And we should also mention that it's great news that digital art, thanks to blockchain technology and the NFT evolution, now gained artistic recognition and arrived at the art market in its canon, and it's now possible to collect digital art. So this marks the first difference between art NFTs and NFTs. And I don't know how you want to do it, Dennis and Sonia. Do you want to invite for questions in between, or shall I just go on and we have a Q&A at the end? Okay. Good.
Later. Yeah.
Later. Okay. Because then it would be the time to jump to the next chart. Sonia, please. Thank you. And the second key learning I chose for today, it's called "It's Less About Speculation." And I have to say that the topic of speculation and investment motivation was personally very important for us, because we really wanted to shed light on the fact: is it about investment? How much is it about investment? And where are maybe the differences? So we made sure we asked the collectors at different points of the survey and tried to gather information about how deep the investment motivation actually is. And we had 75% of the respondents really confirming that they do not buy and collect art NFTs because of any speculative reasons, and that is a lot. It's 75%, and as we've heard in the first key learning, if the value is art, then the motivation to collect and the way how to collect is differently motivated than regular NFTs. So it's not the speculative side to it, and it also marks that art NFT collectors shouldn't be mistaken as speculators in general. We also covered the field of fractionalized art in our report, which I would say commonly is quite associated with the thought of investment and speculation. And when being asked why people actually started and being interested and being active in fractionalized art, the reason number one was to support the artist and to make sure the artist participates in royalties and to contribute to his or her career. And the reason number two why to invest in fractionalized art was to because they appreciated the opportunity to own something, at least partially, which they wouldn't have been able to own as a whole. So I think it's fair to say those are two very emotional aspects rather than investment-driven motivations. So we came clearly to the conclusion to say art NFT collectors are less speculators and maybe more hodl collectors, because they hold on to what they bought because it has a value to them in itself. But I have to say, and I don't think you can read it here, but you could read it up on the website, because there's a different thought to it. Because we had also questions for people who were interested in the topic but didn't start collecting yet. And we asked for the main barrier why people hesitated to get started. And one of the main barriers actually was the misconception of it's all about speculation. And once I'm in the space, it's all about speculator, and I don't want to mingle with those people. So obviously there's a huge misconception, which we think forms huge potential to be unlocked if we somehow make sure those people understand and feel like it's actually slightly different when it comes to art NFTs.
Thank you for sharing your insights. Oh, you keep going, right? I'm not interrupting.
That's the third key learning for now, and the last one for today, and it's about curation. And before I dive deeper into this insight, I think it's worth to remember we are talking Web3 here, and it's rooted and grounded in idealistic principles like decentralization, transparency, democratization, and however, we did set out to ask collectors what they want, what they're expecting, what they would wish for, and that's what they played back to the research. They actually said we would appreciate curation and exhibitions. And in the first step, we asked collectors who are actively collecting already, and those collectors indicated that exhibitions which inspire and share information would definitely animate them to buy even more art NFTs, and also curated exhibitions and curation and selection in general would animate them to buy more. And then if you look at those people who have not yet started collecting, it's actually the very same reasons or motivations they play back. And maybe we can jump onto the next chart because it's easier to see. So we have curation and exhibitions on both collector samples, the ones who are actively collecting, and would say they would animate them to buy more. And on the right side, curation and exhibitions as main motivations to get started into the space. And the first surprise is that it's so obvious, and it goes for both collectors to collector groups. But then equally, this goes against everything we just associated with Web3, and that means selection, and that means gatekeeping, and that means someone is actually deciding what needs to be shown and gets into an exhibition. So we don't have the answer yet. We're just identifying that there's a really interesting movement where I'm not saying that there's going to be a clash, but it'll be interesting to see how we solve those consumer demands, knowing that we're actually delivering on a territory which is meant to function otherwise or differently. So it'll be interesting to see who's going to pick up on this consumer demand first, in what kind of format. If I can just add one thing on the slide before, I'm sorry, Sonja. It's not necessarily curation per se, but we did have another key learning where it's all about bringing art out of the wallet. And it was very interesting to see that today, obviously, most of the art NFTs are sitting in wallets, but many of the collectors indicated they plan to do so otherwise in the future. And that could be being in digital exhibitions or digital galleries, but also bringing it into your living room and making it physical, either using some NFT frame as a hardware or even printouts. So it's interesting to see how there might be a slight movement to bring art NFTs into the physical space, into the real life. And if you think about displaying art in a physical context, then we think there is a pretty big role maybe for galleries and institutions still coming into the game, although it's art NFTs. So I'm just trying to close the circle because we definitely think it's having an impact on our market, and it'll be exciting to see how the future unfolds.
Thank you, Kerstin, for such amazing key findings. And I feel like everyone who haven't read the report yet enjoyed it greatly. And with all these findings, what kind of reaction did you have? What kind of feedback did you receive from the report?
You mean from the respondents or from the media?
From the media first, and then let's talk about respondents as well.
Well, I would say so far it's been going really well. We had great media coverage, and we had coverage in Germany, but also internationally. But it's interesting to see who is picking up on the topic. And this always comes with a surprise, because it requires people who are actually willing to look at what's happening and might be open for that. It means change. So media-wise, I think it's going quite well, but it's still very fresh. So we are hoping for much more coverage, and mainly because we would love to see the work be seen and shared and used, because it's meant to be used for everyone's purposes. And speaking about the respondents, actually, I don't even know if I made it so clear, but that's a completely anonymous survey. So we don't even know who responded. So we never had immediate feedback on the questionnaire. But we had some people revealing themselves by sending us emails and mainly complimenting us, which is really nice on the insight level of the questions, but also of the answer options. And I think that's been one of the major things why those insights could be generated, because we always try to provide a lot of answer options and not just one ABC. And I think that's what helped us to identify so detailed insights in between.
You know, Kerstin, you've touched the topic of the survey, and that seems to us, I mean, to fuel us in particular, very important, because our report was also based not only the public data. So we separated it into two parts. So the first one was based on the public data from Crunchbase and PitchBook, and the second one based on the survey. Like in the art market, we have, I mean, physical art market, we have the, let's say, the public sales based on the auction sales, and let's say the private sales, the commercial galleries, art dealers, and art fairs, where the both parties are trading. So that was quite challenging for us in particular to make that survey for the first time, but we received quite, let's say, quite nice level percentage of replies. But could you please elaborate more, if you could uncover some data, disclose some data? So how did your survey participants respond to having to fill out the form? So did you happen to notice more active participants this year with regard to the first report, to the first survey conducted 1 year ago?
Yeah. Well, first of all, again, I didn't speak to anyone who hated it because they just didn't do it, or they didn't make it until the end. So I'm not aware of who this might have been. But we do have a completion rate of nearly 60%. So they are obviously 40% not having completed the survey. So I assume they weren't up for it. And it's been an extensive survey, I have to say. I think it was about 40 or 50 questions. So it took a while to complete. But then still, this completion rate is quite good. So I can live with the 40% not having finished. And if you ask about a comparison to the first one, we addressed completely different samples, and we also use completely different distribution channels to reach people with those two different surveys. So, and of course, we had 380 respondents with the first report, and we had 306 now with the second. But I find it hard to compare because they ran the same sample, and I think everyone who's been willing to take the survey in both cases, because they've been really, really extensive, wanted to contribute to some insightful data, so which we appreciate.
Yeah.
Thank you. I also noticed, like, you've been talking about it today briefly, like how NFTs can actually come to the physical space, and everyone, well, at least in this space, been talking about how NFTs and physical art market, how they're going to merge, how it's going to happen. What is your perspective? Like, how do you see that happening?
You mean the two worlds coming together?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Kerstin Hinder. She's an NFT evangelist, an expert, and she used a very nice expression. She said, I think we're going to see more dance between the analog and the physical. And I think that's a very nice expression of what's going to happen. So I think both worlds will move towards each other and start to overlap, and something new will be created or arising. But I think in general, first of all, to us, it starts with digital art is being brought to the fine art category and is being collected now and valued now, which is maybe not referring to two worlds, but I think it's a major shift in how digital art as a category has been perceived. And I think that comes with a lot of implication. That comes with new collectors who might enter the art world in general, and I guess they will be mutually beneficial to each other. So we have people from the NFT space getting in contact with or introduced to art they've never seen before, and we see traditional collectors having an increased interest in art NFTs. So I think it'll enlarge the market in general. And it will change the market most likely because it'll introduce new players and spaces as well. But I think we will see a lot of ambitions to bring art NFTs into the real world. And I also think that's been one of the big surprises because it goes against everything we associated it with. And I think that is an interesting movement because we see the demand for creation, we see the desire for hardware to show it. So there's a tendency to get the art NFTs out of the wallet. And I think the interesting bit is that apparently immateriality, which comes along with NFTs, does not seem to be as important with art NFTs because everyone tries to print it or get it into AR visualization into their living room. So it's interesting to see how it's merging, and I think that would be a very fruitful and still exciting era to observe, to see.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure Dennis and I both excited about the future and how this thing's going to merge. Dennis, I think it's your turn now.
Yeah, I mean, we also see that several quite important NFT collectors are now watching us online. For instance, Sylvain Levy, big friend of Fuel Arts and one of the, let's say, market makers and opinion leaders in the digitalization of the art market. So, hello, Sylvain. So, as soon as we started talking about collectors, Kerstin, I'd like to ask you, are you an NFT collector yourself? And what artworks have you included in your collection? Meaning, are they art NFTs or, let's say, open market, flea market NFTs? Or have you purchased it from curated marketplaces or open marketplaces, or, let's say, art dedicated art NFT websites?
Yeah. Well, I think I'm not yet. But it was very important to me from the very beginning to understand the full process. So I've opened up wallets, I bought crypto, I have been browsing on OpenSea, I did purchase NFTs, I gained POAPs, and I still find it not naturally easy to find your way around the space in general. I personally own works from Bunsen Boerwinkle and Alicia Quade and Katharina Grosse, and I bought them both from the artists themselves and through a platform, an art-led platform. And I have to say, I'm still struggling with the fact that they all sit in different wallets, which I feel unsatisfied with, but it's just the fact it is right now, I suppose. And as for the future, I'm recently started following very closely Olive Ellen and Sarah Friend and Raphael Rosendahl. So I don't know, there might be next, but we'll see. It's I'm definitely following and observing the artist and what's happening.
Thank you, Kerstin. Sonia, before you ask your next question, I'd like to go a bit deeper to our news feed because we have, we have a live intersection of a live merging of the two worlds of NFTs and physical art market. For instance, one of our listeners, I believe he's an NFT collector, Dickens says, yeah, he needs some solid physical frames with various aspect ratios. So who can help Dickens in that? So do we
I
have?
would be interested in it too.
Cool. So, and it also says that AR, augmented reality, is an interesting feature of NFTs as well. Yes,
Yeah.
we do agree with that.
Yeah.
We do agree with that. Actually, the mixture of several mediums inside one NFTs, like NFT art and music art and fashion art and video, is, I mean, we consider it to be the future of how the NFTs of how the art NFTs will be developing in the next years. But that's not the topic of our today's meeting, because we're all attention of the report created by Kerstin Gold and her fantastic team. So, Sonia, yeah, your question.
Yeah, I was actually curious about your plans for the next year or two. Are you planning on releasing like another report? And what do you think about like how what's going to be like?
The question feels funny because we are both very excited and very exhausted at the moment. So there's no way to think about what's going to be next. But let me put it this way. At the core of our idea of the Art and Tech report always was to raise questions we want to know it being addressed, and visionary questions to be addressed. And that also means we actually don't want to repeat ourselves. So we don't picture ourselves to redo a report just to have another annual addition to it, but rather wait for the next evolution which interests us. And for example, we never really intended to do the second report as fast. But then there it was, NFTs just around the corner, and it just felt really important to raise the question we felt hadn't been addressed at that point. So I don't know, let's see what's around the corner, but everything what's happening at the intersection of art and tech count us in.
Of course.
So as I'm continuing asking the questions which bother us, I mean, Fuel Arts as the Fuel Arts report creators. So and now when we are starting creating, I mean, combining, putting together all the material for the second report, we ask ourselves, so what we would like to refine or add to our report, how to make it better. So our question to you is, how do you see, I mean, what would you like to refine or add in your last report?
Well,
I mean, in your third edition.
Okay. I was just about to refer to the fact that everything, well, not everything, but maybe half of the things we've done to the second report, half a year later, everything has been changed already again. So I would definitely rephrase questions and things we have asked in a different way or in an evolved way. I don't know. I guess something we've been discussing internally for some time is how we can finance such a project with more longevity without giving up independency. Because we generally like to share what we've done, but we put a lot of work in it and money. So maybe that's something we might give a thought. And other than that, Dennis, I think strongly depends on what the topic might be. In general, I think it's important to reach enough people, and I think 300 is great, but I would also maybe think about how to approach a broader base of respondents to make it even bolder in terms of insights. But again, since we didn't buy any addresses, but we used networks and influencer, I think it's still a quite great coverage we received.
Thank you. I also got very interested because like all of us been in like ART+TECH space already like for a while, and with writing all these reports and having all this data, we understand that there's so many new players right now in the space. There's so many like new ART+TECH startups, and I was curious, what is your perspective? How do you think these new startups, like these new players, they actually influence the art market?
Well, I was a couple of years ago, I was talking to a VC, and I was actually trying to discuss the idea of an accelerator for art and tech startups, and the answer was there's no market to it and there's no need to it. So I'm really excited to see that so many art and tech startups are now entering the market and providing new products and enlarging the system. But then equally, as an advisor to art and tech startups, I don't know how your experiences are, but I sometimes experience that the founders teams are either coming from an art side and trying to do something with NFTs now, or they are tech experts and they're trying to do something in the art market now because they know tech. And I think it needs more to actually come up with a sustainable, relevant product idea or company premise. So, but I think if that's correct, if you've done your homework, you can just find your role and your position in this growing market, and introduce new products. Yes.
Well, Kerstin, thank you. That was a quite interesting observation. I mean, we also found contradictory opinion when we launched Fuel Arts with Roxana Zarnigar back in 2019, that the art market doesn't need it, and of course the art market needs it. And but from our experience, I mean, I've been a startup myself, and I've been asked by all the investors in the row whom I have been showing my startup. So had I passed the accelerator, so I understood that a dedicated accelerator is needed on my own experience. So that was my own pain. So which we solved with Fuel Arts, and now we see the growing interest in first of all in the, I mean, from the young entrepreneurs who would like to play with to find the safest way to play with the craziness, I would say. So they just want to take as much as possible from that hot market, from the idea to the prototype stage. And yeah, so the market is growing, and the investment attention, the attention of the investors towards the market, I mean, shows that the startups are doing well, and with the acceleration, they're doing well, much better than without it.
Good for you.
Yeah, I've got, oh yeah, we have such a pleasure to see how you, with the help of the report, grows the professional level. Thank you so much, Teachers Art Management. I know that for 15 years you've been also contributing to online art education in different spheres, starting from curatorship to art management, managing projects, different continents. So I'm just explaining to the audience who was responsible for that comment. Kerstin, I've got a personal question to you, which bothers me in terms of methodology. On the page number 6 or 7, it doesn't matter. When you have the definition of let's say the sources where collectors are buying NFTs from, you define the three types of marketplaces. The first is open marketplaces. Okay, Rarible, OpenSea, or better say OpenSea, Rarible, and all the flea market, as we call it inside the industry, flea market trading platforms. Okay, good. So the second are curated marketplaces. We know Super Rare, we know AccuArt, we know Foundation App, known origin. But regarding the third denomination, so you say art NFT websites. I have a suspicion that you're talking about what a, let's say, non-fungible report calls collect art collectibles, like all in one. This, I mean, when a collection is being introduced to the market with its own websites, like CryptoPunks, like Bored Apes. Did you mean that, saying art NFT websites?
No, and I really think you got us here, because let me start with the question we asked, because we wanted to know where the people are buying art NFTs. We are only asking about the art NFT buying behavior, and the options were open places, curated platforms, and platforms initiated by art market players.
Okay.
So that's the third category, but I absolutely agree. That's nothing you can understand from how it's written in the report. So it's shortened in a not correct way. But
No. It's a correct way, but I'm just asking.
No, but it's good for you to point out, because that can create confusion. But the interesting bit is, because we were thinking of, well, if it's about art and art appreciation and art NFTs, players like König Gallery or Pace Gallery or ArtNet might actually add something or introduce something which the people are happy to digest and to make use of. And apparently that wasn't the case when we did the survey. But I might also add, maybe not yet, because they've all been very fresh, very young, those platforms, and it might be a different picture now. But coming back to your question, Dennis, yes, the third category is platforms run or initiated by art market players, such as Pace Institute, König Gallery, ArtNet, and many more. Not many more, some more.
Thank you, Kerstin, on putting a light on this subject. For our audience, I should say that one of the future guests of our upcoming webinars will be Ariana Perini, a specialist in art manager and art dealer, currently working for Van Contemporary, who have recently started merging with the NFT market, and they introduced their own NFT sales, one of the most respectable online galleries of traditional physical art. So that will be the case study for, let's say, the third part of your denomination of the sources of NFT collectors' interest. I also should say hello, Shauna. Yes, we have a comment from one of the top art tech and metaverse experts on the market, Shauna Lee Lange. Yeah, she welcomes everyone to their art and tech network. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining, for jumping to this call, for being with us. So yeah, I would recommend also Shauna's earlier podcast, so you could easily find it. It's really gorgeous regarding all the metaverse. If you want to know more about metaverses, so you should address to Shauna or to one of the speakers of the Fuel Arts online program. Yesterday we had also a workshop on metaverses conducted by Alex Blagorev. So yeah, several. The more sources, the more metaverse sources, the better you can compare the experience.
Definitely.
So yeah, as you can see now, the website where you can freely download an amazing art tech report conducted by Kerstin Gold and her amazing team. So the funniest thing is that a year ago I was, I created 2 articles based on your first report on a request of one online research connected with art, technology, and investment in particular. And the name of my, let's say, of my article based on your report was where is the buy button? So I just summarized the key findings. I mean, you were speaking about the dialogue commerce there and the importance of the dialogue commerce in online selling. So I summarized it. I shrunk the title to okay, where is the buy button? So where is the buy button for the NFT sales? Well, I mean, that's not a question to you. It's a question to our audience. So we all are looking for that buy button, and as soon as we find it, we are pressing it and contributing to increasing the volume of sales of trade sales of the NFT market. So do we have other questions from our audience? I would like our assistants to.
No, I think we don't have any more. We only have like a comment from Anna-Schwetz. Great job, Kerstin, inspirational team. So that's like a lovely comment. And I think we already have checked all other comments from the audience.
Cool. So I'm pretty sure that the audience is on the way to your website to download your report and then to stay tuned with the, let's say, on the same tune with the rest of the Art and Tech Society and NFT collectors. And we wish the market, I mean, we wish the two markets to merge as soon as possible, because there are a lot to explore for the both parties, to explore physical art for digital art collectors and vice versa, to explore the magnificent power of digital art and ideas inside of it. And you know,
Yeah.
it's like the same, you know, traditional artists, they have artist statements, and crypto artists, they have crypto manifestos. So as long as I mean, as soon as the both parties understand it's nearly the same, so the two worlds will start merging more efficiently and faster. So thank you, Kerstin. Thank you, Kerstin, for being with us tonight, and wish all the startups to have such a mentor as you are.
That's kind. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having us in the project. And I think you guys are doing a tremendous job when it comes to the art and tech ecosystem. So we certainly will be watching you.
Thank you. And we're looking forward to your next report, and we hope to read it sometime soon.
Great.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvain. Thank you, Sylvain, the co-founder of the DSL collection. So yeah. Sylvain Levy sends us greetings. Merci beaucoup. So see you in a week, because I mean, our courses, our pre-acceleration courses are happening 3 times a week, though as soon as you can't, I mean, the most of the audience doesn't, I mean, he doesn't know what's happening there. So we have to contribute to the, let's say, to the webinar part for not to stay silent. So now we're conducting 2 projects, 2 projects at the same time. So see you in a week.
Okay.
See you.
Yeah, Streaming Museum says thank you for this influential report. Cool.
Thank you. Very welcome. And thank you for the compliment.
And thank you for your inspiring museum. We'll be happy to check it out. Thank you, and see you in a week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.